Welcome to Living with Intent. On this channel, I'd like to share with you my journeys on lifestyle and diet and a bunch of other things. This journey for me started about 10 years ago. I was 70 pounds heavier. I used to be a smoker. I didn't have any medical issues as such, as in I wasn't on any medication. I didn't have any chronic kinds of issues. I did, however, have my complexion. I had pimples, and it wasn't apparently at the time sort of pink. It seemed like there was not, a lot of blood circulation. It was like kind of grayish, or so I've been told. I had severe heartburn, and I had this incredible pain in my shoulder, my left shoulder. I'm left-handed. And I got a catch. I didn't hurt it. I got a catch playing tennis about 22 years ago or so. And, it was a catch. I didn't think much of it. It'll go away, in a day or so, but it actually never went. And over the years, it just got worse and worse. And to the point where 10 years ago, when I started this journey, the pain was so severe. I'd get up in the mornings and my arm I was just in agony. And I'm not a medication person. I never, hardly ever take medication I never do it. So I don't think of taking painkillers. So I sort of live with this pain for, at the time, about 12, 13 years. And, but the pain was terrible. But my reason for starting this journey was essentially just, I was getting older like everyone else, and I thought to myself, maybe I should do something about my health and weight, since I was a smoker and I was 70 pounds overweight. I had friends who were older, my age, younger, on medication it seemed to me, or seemed to them, like it was just one of these things they're going to take for life. And I just didn't want to be in that situation where I was dependent on medication. So that's really why I started this journey. So I'm going to sort of back up to that 10 years ago and then catch you up to now in a very quick journey. And then the following videos, I'll go into more details of various aspects that I've learned about the human body and our diets and various other things. My current diet is kind of like a carnivore diet, just so you know. So if that sort of thing is not for you, then you probably won't be interested in this channel unless you want to learn and hear about other people's perspectives on various other things. So you're welcome to stay. But I didn't want to wait till the end of this video for you to find out what it is. So 10 years ago, I make the decision to get healthier, lose weight. So the healthier part in my mind was simple, quit smoking. And the lose weight part was, I won't say simple, but I knew the answer. It was exercise more and eat less, just like we've been told. So that's what I set out to do. And so I quit smoking, and I used to exercise on and off. It wasn't regular, and so the idea was really to be very regular about my exercising so I can begin to lose some weight and cut down on how much I eat. About 5 years or so prior to starting this diet, my diet was actually fairly healthy, to the extent that that's what, I ate what we were told to eat. Not junk food, not eating out, not ordering out, no pizzas and things. At least that 5 or more years prior to starting this journey. Before that, yes, I had pizzas and a bunch of other things, and I didn't eat out much, but sort of ordered in, often Chinese, this, that, and the other. But since my diet was fairly clean, everything was home cooked for the most part, as in almost every meal was home cooked, and the best I could do is maybe make some alterations to my diet, add some more grains and things and eat less. So I started down this path, and about a week into starting this journey, a doctor friend of mine came to visit, and we've known each other a very long time. And he used to be a smoker, so I was very excited to tell him that I'd quit smoking and I joined the club of smokers who would quit, and that I was going to lose weight. He'd seen me, younger, and I was fit, slim, trim, not an ounce of fat on me, and so I was excited to tell him that I want to get back in, to that level. And he says, Shiv, if you think you're going to lose weight exercising, you're wrong. And I'm thinking, like, what? I said, what do you mean? Isn't that what we're supposed to do? Eat less and exercise more? And he says, you need to read this book called The 4-Hour Body by Tim Ferriss. And since he was there for the weekend, he kind of went a bit into this thing, giving me some pointers. But essentially, I'd gone and ordered the book right away. While he was talking to me. And he says, so, I was very curious about this. How come you can't lose weight exercising? And he says, well, Tim in this book says that a pound of fat. So imagine a pound of fat. It's a very large, size, since fat is kind of voluminous. So a pound of fat. So if you want to lose X pounds, then a pound of fat is 3,500 calories. Just think about that. So what is it going to take for you to burn 3,500 calories in the gym? Now, if you rely on these machines in the gym, that tell you burn so many calories and all that, that's totally bogus. And they're far overstating the actual number, to make you feel good. So typically, you don't burn a whole lot of calories. And certainly you can lose 3,500 calories going to the gym, but it's not going to be in a day, 2 days, a week. And so how long is it going to take you to lose weight by simply exercising? Now, the eating less part maybe helps people, lose weight. But Tim talks about a few key ideas I still use, even though I'm not on that diet anymore. So Tim's diet was called the 4-Hour Body. I'm not quite sure what the 4-hour part was. He had another book prior to that, the 4-hour something or the other. And so I think this was like just a series as, he was continuing on. Really good book though. A lot of insight, and also started me off on my journey to reading medical research papers and understanding them. Not that he says much in the book, but because he cites various research, and I actually didn't believe some of the things he said in the book, and so my sort of hand was forced to go look at this research and learn for myself, and that sent me on a wild goose chase regards to reading medical research, and I've been doing that for the last 10 years. So he says, 3,500 calories is the pound. He says, don't drink calories, and I still go with that. Don't drink calories, meaning if you're drinking something and if it's got calories in it, don't drink it. So you're essentially having things like black coffee, black tea, water. I don't know, there's something else you can have that's got no calories, but that's essentially what I would stick to at the time. And fruits make you fat. That was the one that sent me off on this wild goose chase. I just couldn't believe this guy. I said, what the heck? Where is this guy coming from? I mean, who in the right mind would think and believe that fruits are bad? And, he says they make you put on weight. And he cites a bunch of research, links to a bunch of research. And I went and looked. It wasn't easy reading those research papers at the time. The vocabulary was, I just had to learn a whole lot. Googling every fourth word or fifth word, it seemed. And he says, you should eat eggs for breakfast. Now, 20 years ago when I came to the US, my very first breakfast, eggs and ham or bacon, I forget now exactly what, I think it was ham. I got heartburn. Now, I'd never had heartburn, so of course I knew such a thing as heartburn existed, but I never had it, so I didn't know what it felt like and what it was supposed to feel like. How would you know what the heartburn's like? So I'm getting this very uneasy feeling, on my chest, and I'm sort of almost like I'm hyperventilating, trying to prevent like some sort of a, eruption, if you will. Honestly, I thought it was, time to check out, and I was very scared. But okay, it turns out I had acidity, heartburn. And that heartburn was very severe, and it just continued on for the next 10 odd years till I started this diet. But I certainly had an association to eggs and heartburn. I knew that every time I had eggs, which was very, very infrequent, because of the fact that I had acidity or heartburn every single time. So I knew that eggs gave me acidity. And people would say it's spicy food, it's this food, that food, and I tried experiments. It wasn't spicy food, because there would be days when I had spicy food and I would get acidity, and then the days that I wouldn't. So I couldn't correlate it to anything else. But at the point, eggs, I certainly knew something else also gave me heartburn, but I couldn't actually pinpoint it. Anyway, so I had eggs very, very infrequently during that, the last 20 years or 10 years prior to starting this diet. I thought to myself, well, if it means I got to have eggs and deal with the heartburn, then, so be it. So the book arrived, I read all this stuff in the book, and I said, okay, I'm ready to start. So I started down this path, and the first morning I had eggs. So you're not allowed, this is the slow carb diet, so let me give you just a brief. The slow carb diet is about slow carbohydrates. What are slow carbohydrates? These are carbohydrates that spike your insulin, blood sugar, slowly. Insulin is not blood sugar, but insulin gets spiked when your blood sugar goes up. So things like grains, and all grains, sugars, potato, corn, stuff like that, just not allowed. So you can't have carbs that are what we call the fast carbs. The carbs you are allowed to have are the slow carbs, which are things like beans and lentil, vegetables, especially green vegetables. So no carrot and beetroot and stuff like that. Even tomatoes, I believe, was not on the diet. I'm not sure. I don't remember the details, but slow carbs really mean carbs that are very fibrous, and so they don't spike your blood sugar, therefore insulin. And the idea being that insulin is a fat storage hormone. Okay, its primary role, it's got another role as well, but its primary role is as fat storage. So if insulin gets spiked, as in it comes up in your blood sugar, in your blood levels, then it's going to store fat. Just that simple. And carbohydrates spike up your blood sugar, that causes the body to produce insulin, and then guess what happens? That's the short of this whole thing. So I had breakfast, and there wasn't heartburn. I said, okay, maybe I've been cured not eating eggs all these years. And this diet had a cheat day, so once a week you could eat whatever you wanted. So I picked Saturday as my cheat day. Saturday comes along, and so I've basically gone almost 5 or 6 days without heartburn, having eggs every morning. And on Saturday I get heartburn after having breakfast, and I'm thinking, okay, so now it looks like my body can't handle eggs all these days, and so I had all these ideas in my head. And then after the cheat day, again, no heartburn. I'm still having eggs. So I couldn't quite understand what was going on. The next cheat day, again, I get heartburn. So I said, okay, so it's every cheat day. And what I was doing was, at the time, I used to drink coffee with the creamer, the hazelnut, the very sweet creamers, but I love them, so I used to have them, but not during the week, the 6 days, but on the 7 days, since I was allowed to do what I wanted, I would have my coffee with the creamer and eggs with the bread or toast. In fact, I realized by the second week that I had this addiction to sugar, because whenever I used to feel like coffee and prior to starting the diet, I actually wanted my sugar fix. I call it my sugar fix. But I only realized that after having to quit the creamer, and the black coffee just didn't do it. The black coffee just didn't do it for me, so I eventually just stopped having this black coffee. It just wasn't any fun. So The next week I said I'll not have the creamer and see if that's giving me the heartburn. So I had the toast or bread, but I didn't have the creamer and I still got heartburn. The next cheat day I said, okay, I'll not have the toast, but I'll have the creamer. And no heartburn. And I'm thinking to myself, like, if grains, in this case wheat, is giving people heartburn, how come nobody seems to know about it? Like, how come this is not common knowledge? So anyway, so I'm going to just speed up a little bit here. So a few things happened. I discovered that grains gave me heartburn. I discovered milk caused the pimples. So my skin cleared up, and people would say, man, you're losing weight. And the weight was coming off. So this diet certainly was doing its part of, weight loss. So, people who've known me for years, people I worked with, family, they said, man, you're losing weight. You're looking really good. And, you're glowing. And I reached out there, what do you mean I'm glowing? And they said, your skin is like, it's looking kind of glowing, and, it's clear. And that's when I realized the pimples had gone. And on my cheat days, every once in a while, I'd have like a chocolate or something, and I'd get, a pimple or two. And I went on another experiment that, like I did with the acidity, and found out that it's the milk and milk products. So 2 of my issues were resolved by diet. And the heartburn I could kind of correlate it to eating, right? Because it's kind of here. I couldn't understand the pimples thing. And the glowing part, I put it down to smoking, as in people would say, my skin was like grayish colored before. It wasn't so pink. So I'm guessing that was, improved blood circulation. So smoking must have done a number on the body. And a couple of months into this diet, I wake up one morning and my shoulder's not hurting. Now, I told you earlier that my shoulder used to be in agony. And anytime, I forget whether it's paining or not, I could not do this movement of, putting on a jacket or a knapsack, or I couldn't lift my arm up, certain angle up to a certain height. And now I'm not saying it happened overnight, but 2 months in or so, one morning I wake up and I realize that I don't have this shoulder pain, and it's just completely gone. And I'm thinking to myself, like, what the heck has this shoulder pain got to do with my diet? And all I've changed is, just in my mind, there's a big change in the diet thing. But I mean, I'm sort of eating the same thing. I'm just not eating sort of the fast carbs, right? So that experience kind of sent me off on a tangent from where I was headed. And I said, if changing my diet can fix these things that I can see and feel, like on the outside, can you imagine the damage on the inside that I could fix? So I'm now getting all excited about this whole idea, this knowledge of the revelation of knowing that somehow diet can make you healthier to the extent where, like, pains go away, heartburn stops, pimples go away, skin clears up. And I said to myself, I'm going to find the diet. And when I say diet, I'm kind of using the term loosely. I'm not looking for a specific diet. The foods that would make me the healthiest I can possibly be. Okay, so that was like from weight loss, it suddenly shifted to being healthy. And in my mind, weight loss was just sort of a symptom, if you will, of not being healthy. That's not to say that people who are not heavy, who don't have a weight problem, are healthy. And vice versa. People who are overweight or heavy are unhealthy. But that's kind of like how I saw it. I said, because the weight loss was I figured out the weight loss part. That was just simple carbs, right? So, check. Although there are better ways or faster ways or healthier ways, if you will, of losing weight. And I'll talk about all of these things in the upcoming videos. And I said to myself, well, if it means I need to be like a vegetarian or a vegan or a fruitarian or whatever, I don't care. Now, that's just the kind of person I am. Once science has to proves something, and if it's good science and it proves it, I don't need any convincing. I'm on it like in a second. And this applies across across my life, where if I'm convinced, it's been proven, something has been proven, not necessarily scientifically, but let's say through experience. You try this, you try that, you try this, you try that, and this seems to work all the time. I said, okay, that's it. Then I just shut my eyes and do it. So I didn't really care what it is that I could or could not eat. It was not based on my beliefs. It wasn't based on my desires, my likes, dislikes, nothing. I don't care. I just have to find out what all I need to eat and exclude the things I need to exclude, and I'm going to eat that. Right? So that started this journey. And because I was already getting used to reading medical research papers, and by the way, I'm so far away from medical anything. I'm an engineer, so this medical thing didn't sort of come naturally. But as the years went on, I was getting better. I started to understand the terms and the biochemistry, and it's also it was a long journey. So I started on this path. This path took about 6-7 months. It was a long time, and of course I spent every waking moment that I was free reading, researching, trying, experimenting. All kinds of things. So I will just cut short in that whole thing. And it turns out that for whatever reason, meats are good, and saturated fats are good as well. And you hear you need to be vegetarian to be healthier, to prevent heart disease, this, that, and the other, and you're non-vegetarian, which I am, and I'm thinking, why would I want to give up the meat? But now I'm finding that the meat is the healthier thing, and the vegetables and the fruit are not healthy, and the saturated fat. Okay, so that was that took me a long time to accept, even though there was a lot of science that I'm reading that was, you couldn't refute it, and it was very obvious. So try and put into my mindset at the time. So I started the journey wanting to get healthier. So I don't, I was a smoker. So smoking typically is either cancer or heart disease or whatever. And so, quit smoking so I don't get those things. And then lose weight, right? And I'm reading about this fat and saturated fats, and I'm thinking, okay, so I've just started to lose weight and get healthier. Now I'm supposed to eat saturated fats that will make me fatter and give me heart disease. Fats clog your arteries and give you heart attacks. It wasn't the most obvious thing for me to just switch over because I'm reading the science. It was, as I said, even though it takes me no time, this was a hard pill to swallow. And the meat part as well, because, in the back of my mind, when I started down this journey, and the reason I said to myself, even if it's vegetarian or vegan, I'm going to do it. So my mind is almost like I felt is going to go, to the vegetarian, vegan in that direction. But it didn't. There's lots of science. There's a lot of research out there that prove, the research proves that fruits are healthy and vegetables are healthy and all that. But with these research, you have to understand that there's many confounding criteria or things that occur in these research. Who funded it? Who's the research scientist or scientists? Why they're doing this? Is there an ulterior motive or a vested interest? Is their research designed correctly? Did they do the research? Did they execute it correctly? There's just so many things that can go wrong. And is this a double-blind control study, or is it just like an epidemiological study, and so on and so forth? So it's not like there's no research that says something is good or bad. There's plenty. Is it real science? That's really the question. So I had to learn all of this, how to understand science from good science from bad science and stuff like that. So then in the nutritional industry, we have a lot of crap from a research standpoint. And of course, I'm not an expert on this. I've been learning, I just know that, there's so many, I could cite, maybe in one video I could cite so much of research that's just total BS. But if you're not accustomed to reading these papers or understand sort of some of this background, you just believe it. I mean, here's the research paper, and why would they say it's true when it's not? Anyway, so while I'm struggling with this, I came upon 3 research papers from Johns Hopkins Institute. One was on epilepsy, children who had epilepsy. These children had like hundreds of episodes, meaning fits a day. I mean, I didn't even know you could have so many. And the other research was on diabetics. These are advanced stage diabetics who had kidney failure and a bunch of other issues besides being diabetics. And the third group was these research happened over years. I'm just clubbing them together. I happened to read them. And the third one was people with multiple sclerosis, MS, terrible disease. Later on, I learned that Johns Hopkins Institute uses ketogenic diet in when there's nothing else, if as a last resort. I'm assuming, I don't know anymore, but I'm assuming they still think, now the ketogenic diet, and I'll go more details into what that is, and that was primarily my diet. Once I kind of shifted and changed gears a bit. It's essentially a high-fat diet. So they would use this diet as a last resort because, fats make you fatter and give you heart disease. So when nothing else worked, they'd try an experiment with, in this case, these 3 different groups of people. And as soon as it worked, or as soon as somebody got, better or whatever, take them off the diet before they get a heart attack. So now the epilepsy thing, the children with epilepsy, a statistically significant number of people or kids were cured of their epilepsy, and those who didn't get cured had very infrequent episodes, meaning from hundreds they've gone down to maybe none some days to sometimes 1 or 2 or whatever. I'm guessing if those children were kept on that diet longer, the ketogenic diet longer, they'd be cured too. I mean, not everyone's going to get cured at the same time, the same amount of time. I think it was like 3 months or 2 months. I forget the actual duration of these the studies, but they stopped them because they were concerned that they'd have one disease and now they'll get another one, and they'll get fatter too. And by control study, these are all controlled studies, so which means that Johns Hopkins was feeding these people on their premises. They weren't going back home and being fed by the parents or whatever. So they have to make sure that these people, it's a double blind, so one group is being fed a very specific diet, like the ketogenic diet, the other group is being fed whatever they used to eat kind of thing, and that's how they make sure that there's no confounding principles. Just change that one thing. The diabetics, again, same thing. A statistically significant number of people had been cured of their diabetes. So just listen to what I'm saying. They were cured of their diabetes. Their kidney function, the failed kidneys started functioning again, so they no longer have renal failure. I'm thinking to myself, how is this possible? If you could fix your kidneys and you could not suddenly become a diabetic, one day to the next, how come nobody knows about this? Why is it that this institute is doing these things and nobody seems to know about it? I still know the answer to that, but I'm guessing it's something to do with money, industry, stuff like that. But I was, excited. I was angry. I was just really frustrated. But there's, the study's done well. The research is done well. You can't question what they did and how they did it, and all the information is there. The same thing with the MS. A statistically significant number of people were cured of MS. And now this ketogenic, I learned this new term ketogenic at the time. So I continued on my research, and again, I'm reading this high-fat diet. I'm still a little apprehensive or hesitant to take on a high-fat diet and get heart disease and become fatter. But anytime I was doing some research and I happened upon this ketogenic, I'd go look for that and say, okay, what's that? And so I've read up a lot of research on ketogenic. I don't mean research on the ketogenic diet. What I've read was a lot of research where they used the ketogenic diet and they ended up curing a whole bunch of things. And every time I came across something like that, I was like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. I mean, how can we be curing? What medication cures these things? And a diet is doing it. So couple of months more of struggle with this fat, this, that, and the other. I was happily losing weight and feeling good, and I just didn't kind of want to gain the weight back, and certainly not end up with a heart attack. But I continued doing the research, and everything I read still continued to point me in the direction of meat and fats. So here I am, 10 years later. I'll give you a brief of what I do today. So today I'm primarily, I know of this one diet called the carnivore diet. But that's what I don't know if I'm carnivore or not, as in if I'm on the diet, what that means. I don't know enough about that diet. I learned about that recently. But essentially, for the most part, I eat lots of fatty meat. Yes, lots of fatty meat. I don't have vegetables, I don't have fruits, I don't have milk, I don't have grains. I have pretty much, as I said, there's only these two things. Oh, and eggs. I have eggs. So fish, meat, any meat, any fish. And I have a lot of organ meat, which is also important. So it's meats, fish, and meats including organ meats, fish. Fish are primarily fatty fish, tuna, mackerel, salmon, and eggs. That's it. So if you are, and of course if there's a spectrum of diets, so let's say there's these sort of what we call the SAD diet, the Standard American Diet. There's a spectrum. Here's the SAD diet, and it can go up to here. So there's a different kind of diets all the way up to here. And there's a diet called the paleo diet. So let's say the paleo is kind of in between this point and this point, right? So this paleo here. And ketogenic is closer to the side. Now, on the ketogenic diet, typically, what used to be called, probably still called the Atkins diet. That diet is optimized for weight loss. I'm not optimizing for weight loss. I'm optimizing for health, and the weight loss just occurs. So paleo, keto, and I'm over here, or maybe even carnivore is over here. Ketogenic is actually is a state of the body. You're in a state of nutritional ketosis, and therefore you're on a ketogenic diet. If that diet maintains you in a state of nutritional ketosis, if the diet does not maintain you in that state, it's not ketogenic. You can call it what the heck you want. It is not ketogenic. All right. Some people don't seem to understand this idea. Oh, you can eat this on a keto. You can eat that on a keto. No. You have to know if you're in a state of ketosis. So now I've got all these meters, blood pressure meters and blood sugar meters and ketone meters. I'm not talking about urine sticks. These are actually, you have to prick yourself, on the finger or whatever and do it through blood. Ketones, our bodies can burn carbohydrates for energy, or they can burn fat for energy. From a fats perspective, the liver will convert the fat into what we call, or what are known as ketone bodies. There are three kinds of ketone bodies. There's beta-hydroxybutyrate, there's acetoacetate, and acetone. Of which beta-hydroxybutyrate is the sort of the primary or the more useful or the most used ketone body for energy by our bodies. So when you're in a state of nutritional ketosis, you are effectively producing ketone bodies, and up to a certain level where the body can actually utilize it for energy, you have a carbohydrate that is too sugary, or like a fast carb, or even mildly fast carb, like a slow carb. Slow carb will knock you off of ketosis, meaning your body will stop producing ketones. So you are not in a state of nutritional ketosis. So you can't say I'm on a keto diet when you're not. I'll talk a lot more about keto and keto diet. But so this is ketogenic, which means you've eliminated quite a few things from your diet to be in a state of ketosis. My diet is here, which means any diet from here to here is a keto diet, right? I mean, because if once you've eliminated, it's essentially you're eliminating from here to here, you're eliminating more and more things to get here, right? I only eat fat and meat, or really fatty meat. So from here to here, you eliminated paleo, you eliminated, quite a few things. The paleo is a good diet. I mean, you can get very healthy on paleo. Then ketogenic, or Atkins diet, or whatever you want to call it, is a little more extreme. You've eliminated a bunch of other things in addition to what paleo does to become keto, meaning to be in a state of nutritional ketosis. From here to here, whatever you're eliminating is going to continue to keep you in a state of ketosis, right? So these are all sort of ketogenic diets from here to here. So on the internet, on YouTube, you're trying to find a substitute, and that gets you into trouble. As in, by trouble, I mean you're going to go off keto, right? So don't try that. Anyway, I don't want to go into the details of that. My diet currently is carnivore. I do a lot of fasting. It could be what is known as intermittent fasting, which is one meal a day. That's actually my normal, by the way. I've come to the point where I don't even eat 2 or 3 meals a day. I just eat 1 meal a day when I'm eating. And then typically every other week I'm fasting, water fasting. I don't know why they call it a water fast. Water fast to me sounds like you're not having water. Okay, so I'll just say I drink only water for 5 days every other week. And when I do eat, I'm eating 1 meal a day. Now I'm switching it up a little bit. Just to try another experiment, because I do miss eating. I don't get hungry though, but I do miss eating. I enjoy good food, and you have the desire to eat this and that and the other. So I'm thinking I'll probably have 2 meals if I can. I mean, it's the weekend today, and yesterday was Saturday, today is Sunday, and I was supposed to have 2 meals yesterday, and I didn't eat 2 meals yesterday, even though I wanted to, or it doesn't strike me. You know what I mean? It's not something I'm thinking of doing. So maybe I'll have 2 meals today. I don't know, but I'm in this sort of change mode, and then I'll be fasting 3 days of the week. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday of this next week. By fasting, for me, fasting is really not eating anything. So this intermittent fasting for me is the standards. I don't keep saying intermittent fast because that gets confusing. And then for the rest of the week, up to the next week, I'll try and eat 2 meals a day. And then the next week, I'll go on a 5 days a week, 5 days fast, and so on. So I'm trying different experiments, but I'm optimizing my diet for health. It's not based on my likes and dislikes and wishes and desires and nothing. I certainly enjoy eating the food I'm eating, because you develop a taste for the foods that you're supposed to be eating. So I tell people, I don't live to eat, I eat to live. If you're interested, I hope I'll see you in the next videos. Let me know whether you like or would like me to do other things. Put it in the comments. I'll try and help if I have an answer. Please remember, I'm not a doctor, dietitian, nutrition, whatever. I'm an engineer. This is my experience. This is what I believe after having read a bunch of science and things, and I'm doing a bunch of experiments. So let me know your experiences and your experiments. In the next videos, I plan to go deeper into each one of these little topics. There's hundreds of these little topics, hundreds of questions people have asked me. And so I'll be doing that in the next videos. So Until then, bye bye.